All right, what is up, good people? This is the first ever Dynasty lunch break. I'm your bored Dynasty. You're bored. You're already bored. I'm your boy Dynasty Price, and man, it is good to be back in the live streaming game. It's been a minute since I've done this, and man, I this is gonna be awesome, guys. I like you can look at my face. You can see I'm giddy over here. Like I am so genuinely excited to be doing this. And I'm so excited. I don't even know 100% that this is like even streaming at the moment. I think it is. I'm pretty confident it is. We tested it yesterday. I still don't know for sure. We'll find out. Maybe I'll do an entire episode only to find out that it never actually streamed. That no one ever actually got to see what was happening here on the Dynasty lunch break. But several things that I've planned for today. I have a few topics around prospects, a few topics around what's gone on so far in free agency. And we're going to get to a rookie mock draft. That's right, a 12-team rookie mock draft. And yeah, I'm starting to see the chat now too. Starting to see the chat, which is exciting me because that means this is actually working. So look at that. Peter said he's in a sauna. He's in the sauna watching currently, fogging up the screen there. I get it, man. I get it. You got to have something to do. Got to have something to do. Jonathan's making some pasta. Marino's here. Ryan's here. The gang's all here, guys. I'm so excited. First thing, before we get into our rookie mock draft, this show will have guests at times. We don't have any guests for today. Now, the reason we don't have any guests for today isn't because we're mean and we don't want to have people on. It's because we still don't 100% know how to bring guests on. So we're working through that. Ryan's delivering the mail. Dennis is eating over here. Ryan, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen someone mail? Like, have you ever seen someone mail like human feces? Really, really curious to see that. What's up, Matt? Man, I'm gonna have a hard time getting through this show just because I'm so excited. Like, I feel like a kid on Christmas. I've done some live streaming in the past, but now I feel like, like, you remember Pinocchio? Did you guys watch Pinocchio? I feel like there's no strings on me, right? I feel like there's no strings on me. I can do whatever I want. I could say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. We can bring on anyone we want. This is just hanging out, guys, and this is what it's going to be like. We are going to be hanging out. Hanging out. He said a lot of vibrating boxes. Oh, man. Momo was an OG. I used to stream on this super random platform like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't even know that I remember what it's called. Some Japanese platform. I don't know. And then we switched to Twitch. And then we took some time off. And now we're back. So one of the things that I want to discuss, I actually put out a little video. It's probably not out for you guys yet. But I was updating my rankings based on what happened in free agency so far. And one of the most difficult guys for me to rank was Kyle Pitts. I had a really, really hard time figuring out where to put him because there's part of me that remembers how freaking good he is. And there's part of me that knows that Arthur Smith is gone. People mail human feces all the time. Oh, man. I remember that Arthur Smith is gone. There's a new head coach, a new offensive system in here. Then you have the fact that Desmond Ridder is no longer the quarterback, and it is now Kirk Cousins. And all of that being said, like, you could make an argument for him being the number 1 overall tight end. Then on the flip side, you can remember all of the years of disappointment. Steven, what's up? How's it going, buddy? Yeah, so you can remember all those years of disappointment, all those years where we thought we were going to be getting 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns, and we thought he was going to be the next Travis Kelce. And we didn't get that. We had a good rookie year, but not the production in the end zone and the red zone that we would want. So you could make an argument that he should still be in the 7-8 range. So I want to hear from you guys. Where are you ranking Kyle Pitts right now? Spoiler alert, I ended up putting him as high as tight end 3. I put him as high as tight end 3 because, one, I do believe that the difference between Kirk Cousins and Desmond Ridder is a very big difference. You saw what TJ Hawkinson was able to do with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. And yes, that was somewhat the offensive system as well, but TJ Hawkinson went from being kind of where Kyle Pitts is, that tight end 7, 8, that's still young, was drafted highly, everybody was excited about, and it just didn't really pan out, to being arguably the top dynasty tight end. And I know with the injury, people are putting him back a little bit, but he's been crazy productive. So when you factor that in, then you also factor in it's a new offensive scheme. They're going to be throwing the ball more. There's going to be more playmakers involved. Like, man, So I ended up putting him at 3. I could see an argument literally for anywhere from, I don't think I could see 1. I think Sam Laporta has pretty well locked that spot up. But I could see an argument anywhere from 2 to 7. And I don't think you would be crazy no matter where you put him in there. Anywhere from tight end 2 to tight end 7. I don't think he should be any lower than tight end 7. But I think you can go just about anywhere there. Matthew is asking where the Kadero Hodge fans are at. Thoughts on impact to Will Levis, sell high. I'm not the biggest Will Levis guy. I'm not anti-Will Levis at all. But depends on what you can get. But I would be willing to sell high if I had the right offer in place. But I'm definitely not selling on the cheap. Matthew says Kyle Pitts, roughly tight end 5-ish, lower than Kincaid. Okay. Ryan, same spot, tight end 5. Got to see it to get him any higher. I can respect that. Momo Domes, if I had to make the pitch, he's still 23. Kirk compares favorably to Pitts, rookie Matt Ryan, and the tight ends are the issue for his fantasy relevance, and he was insanely productive in the red zone in college. So yeah, I think that's a strong argument. Jonathan says Laporta, Hawk, and then a tier of Kincaid, McBride, and Pitts all together. So anywhere there from 3 to 5. Ryan, yeah, tight end 5. Ian saying Laporta, Hawkinson, McBride, Andrews, Kincaid, Pitts. So he has them at 6. Stevens got him at 4. So yeah, we're seeing them kind of all over the map, which is kind of what I expected. I kind of expected people to be a little all over the map with him because there's some PTSD there. Like, there is some real concern that he hasn't produced for us like we wanted to in the past. But on the flip side, man, that upside is so tantalizing. And if you're going to get him, the window's really already closed. You're not going to be able to get him anymore. But if there is any chance, you've got to do it before the games, because if he starts producing similar numbers to what we've seen out of Hawkinson, good luck getting him. Like, really good luck getting him. Marino said if you had Andrews and wanted to go after Pitts, what would a trade look like? Add a second to Pitts? Probably. I would rather Pitts over Andrews personally. So, but yeah, if you had to add a second to Pitts to make it happen, because like me, you'd rather him, I would be willing to do that. Cade, he's asking about Will Levis. He said, I got an offer straight up JSN for Will Levis. I'm strong at wide receiver and quarterback. Either would be 4th in depth. I think that's a fair trade. I would probably go at JSN personally, but I think it's pretty fair. Where does Brock Bowers already fall in tight end ranking? 6 or 7? Yeah, I think he falls right after that. Kincaid, McBride, Pitts, Andrews, whatever order you have those guys in, I think he falls right after that group. Kirk says, he said, I feel 6, but his ceiling is greater than McBride, Kincaid, and probably Andrews at this point. Yeah, upside, but unproven. Jason saying Pitt's traumatic stress disorder. That is a very real thing. Ryan said landing spot has to be a downgrade for Cousins, doesn't it? I don't think so. I don't think it's a downgrade for Cousins personally. I think I understand why saying that you've no longer got Hawkinson. You've no longer got the number one wide receiver in Dynasty in Justin Jefferson. But Pitts and in London are no slouches. I like the offensive scheme that they're going to. It's similar to, you would assume it's going to be similar to what Kevin O'Connell ran. It's Rams guys to Rams guys, so it's going to be similar system and better running game with Bijan Robinson than he had up there recently. So I think it's fairly close personally. Gump said he has him at tight end 4. Kirk said potential to dominate, but we have been waiting for that potential. At some point, we have to consider it might not be there. Feels like his last chance. All right. This mock. Yes, let's get to the mock. Mr. Bakes a Lot, what's up, homie? Matthew Mitchell's here, my dude. He said that the comment's gone now. It was here. Now it's gone. I lost it. All right. Yeah, let's get into this mock draft here. I'll answer Andrew's question real quick before we get into it. 12-man, 1 QB, start 2 running back, 3 flex. I have Hall, Connor, Chubb, Zamir White, Brian Robinson, Gibson, and no picks in 24. Should I feel confident going into next season? Zamir White thoughts. Zamir White, look, I have been a guy that's been pro Zamir White. I think he's a good player. But by no means do I think he is safe now that he's, made it through free agency. I think that they are very likely to still draft somebody. But all of that being said, I do think that the worst is over because where this team is at, there are a lot of holes. And I think they're more likely to try to use their early draft capital on more high impact positions than they would running back. So while he's not completely out of the woods, I feel decent for this year. All right, here we go. So we are going to start this mock draft, and I am going to, let's see if I'm doing this right. I'm still learning OBS. Tell me if you can see me in the little corner down there, and you can see the mock draft up top. Hopefully you can. It looks like I'm not really able to scroll, so we might be missing the first pick here. But yes, this is a super flex, tight end premium mock draft. I did set it for 2 QB, Tristan, when you're asking. So while it looks like the quarterbacks are really low for some reason, yes, this is a 2 QB mock draft or super flex mock draft. So for whatever reason, it doesn't look like maybe if I change, even though I put 2 QB, let me switch. Maybe I need to do the roster settings. Maybe we'll add a super flex spot here. Yeah, I don't know why I'm having a hard time being able to do that. Anyway, it doesn't look like it, but we're drafting as if it is a super flex tight end premium mock draft. So you might have to scroll a little bit to get the quarterbacks. Michael, absolutely. Marino's here saying it looks good. Appreciate you guys. Absolutely. All right, let's do this. Let's start the draft. And there might be times, I know for you that are drafting with me, it might be the tiniest little bit annoying, but there might be times that I have to pause the draft if I'm talking or things like that. So just be prepared for that. So we are going to start the draft. The 101, Henry J. Burns is up, and he has the first overall pick. I assume I know where this is going, but maybe we don't. Maybe we don't know where it's going. I don't, like I said, for some reason it doesn't seem to be quite getting the whole screen there. So I'll let you guys know who the first pick overall is when it comes in. This podcast unofficially sponsored by Mountain Dew Baja Blast. There it is. Yes, this draft is supposed to be linear because it is like a mock, or it is like a rookie draft. So first 2 picks off the board. Caleb Williams, 1-1, first guy that goes. Makes perfect sense. Honestly, that he's been projected that way for a long time. The bigger surprise is here at pick 2, and I could see this happening very easily as well. We have Marvin Harrison Jr. going at 2. And this is going to be the debate. A transcendent talent at wide receiver versus the value of the quarterbacks in a super flex league. Wild. Absolutely wild to try to project how this is going to work. I think every league will be a little bit different. We might see 3 quarterbacks go, then a wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. We could see all kinds of different things play out in this. So really going to be interesting. So then we have Marvin Harrison Jr., Jaden Daniels, Drake May, Malik Neighbors, Romo Dunze, and then I am up. And for some reason, I wanted to take more time to talk about all these picks, but for some reason, does not seem to be letting me do so. I wanted to pause. We'll figure it out. But I'm going to go a little off script here. Tight end premium seems like it should be Brock Bowers that goes next. I went with J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, I went with J.J. McCarthy here. Okay. Interesting. So it's not showing up on the stream. I wonder why. Because I did give it this link. Let me see. Let me mess with this real quick. And that did absolutely nothing. All right. Why is this not? Okay, maybe instead of... Sorry, guys. We are still working out some of the difficulties, learning how to use OBS with all of this. I took the direct link, posted it in there, but for some reason, it does not seem to want to show it. Let me check and see here. Media source. No. Sorry, guys. Hang with us on this. We will get it figured out. If not today, soon. We will get it figured out for sure. Let's see. No. All right. Let's see. Can everybody see it now? You might not be able to see me anymore. Although, actually, I could probably change that. I could probably put this right here. All right. I think we're starting to see it now. Okay. So let's go ahead and go through what we've seen so far in the mock draft. Caleb Williams went at 1-1. Marvin Harrison Jr. went at 1-2. Jaden Daniels at 1-3. And like I said before, I think that's going to be kind of the big debate this year is where does Harrison go in conjunction with all of the other quarterbacks. So Jaden Daniels goes 1-3. Drake May goes off the board at 1-4. I really like Drake May. I get why he's slipping, but I think he seems like the CJ Strouds of the world, the Justin Herberts of the world, where they've been good for a long time. And so with that, like, just people get bored. Yes, I do have we've got some basketball and stuff going on today. So yeah, we got some FanDuel, we've got some DraftKings tabs up there. Absolutely. Then we've got Malik Neighbors, not a big surprise there. Romo Dunze at 1-6. I ended up going with J.J. McCarthy over Brock Bowers. And in a tight end premium, I think that would probably be just a tad in the hot takey range. But here's the thing for me. we talked about Kyle Pitts earlier on in the show. And Kyle Pitts was every bit the prospect, the talent of Brock Bowers. And he was still subject to what was around him. And that's where this can get real tricky at that position. And so I think J.J. McCarthy is getting top 20 draft capital, maybe even top 15. Gump, that's exactly what it is. It is positive EV betting. That's 100%. Done a little bit of arbitrage, a little bit of positive EV. If you're a positive EV expert, I need some help because I'll have days where I do decently, but when it's bad, it's bad. So I could use some help. But so that's why I went with J.J. McCarthy over Brock Bowers at the moment. It could really go either way, to be honest with you. But that's where I ended up going for right now. I ended up going with J.J. McCarthy over Brock Bowers. Ooh, I got to make my pick, too. I just realized that. I'm going to go with Marshawn Lloyd here. I haven't got a chance to talk about him on the show yet. But if you've been following me at all, he is a guy that I do like quite a bit so far. I'm digging deeper and deeper into his tape. I'm a fan of his game. So we didn't have, and as you can see, we didn't have a single running back go in the first round, which isn't entirely inaccurate. I think this is how a lot of our rookie drafts are going to go, especially in Superflex leagues, where we're not going to have running backs go for a while. So after Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas, then Adonai Mitchell. Brian Thomas, look, the size, the speed, the production. I mean, he has really everything that you're looking for in a wide receiver. He's looked great. Mitchell's really soared up boards, partly because of that same thing. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got those measurables that you really want to see. The production is a little bit more questionable. He was a guy that transferred from Georgia to Texas. Good player, but he's going to be a really interesting one to see exactly what his draft capital is. Really curious there. Then Michael Penix going off the board at 111. And I would love to ask Hitman about this a little bit more because I do think that I love this pick personally. Like, I really, really like this pick. I think Penix is a fantastic quarterback. I think that he is a guy that deserves to go in the first round of the NFL draft. Now, will he? I don't know. I really don't know. But I think watching his tape, I was really blown away with how good he was, how well he played. So even though this might be a little bit outside the box right now, I really like it. Xavier Worthy going here at 212. Obviously, he set that incredible mark in the 40. But he's got some good tape to back it up as well. I haven't dug deep enough to know whether I would take him here or not yet, but I think it's a very justified spot to take him. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to scroll here. We're back into the first round. And at 2-1, we've got Troy Franklin off the board. His combine was a little bit on the disappointing side. So I think that moved him down a little bit on some people's boards. But getting him here in the second round, a big time, big play type of player, I think this is a good spot for him to go. Then the next guy is somebody that everybody is talking about. And because of that, I'm super excited to watch his tape. We've got Ladd McConkey. He is a darling of everyone right now. He's putting up great numbers at the combine. He had a great Senior Bowl. Like, everything has been going his way so far. So, yeah, I think it's a really good pick. Jonathan Brooks, next one at 2-3 off the board. I do think he's going to be at least pre-draft. I think he is going to be the borderline consensus 1-1. Now, once the NFL draft happens, we'll have to see how much they're concerned about the injury that he sustained. But if it's not overly concerning to these teams, and they do think that there's a chance that he'll be ready to go, by training camp and things like he's saying that he'll be able to do, then he could easily be the first one off the board. Keon Coleman is the next one. Man, I struggle a lot with Keon Coleman because part of me wants to love him. Part of me wants to be in love with Keon Coleman. And then part of me says he really seems to fit the profile of two guys that I did not really like, in Treylon Burks and Quentin Johnston. Now, once again, I haven't done my deep dive into my wide receiver tape, so I'll know pretty well here soon if he is the type of player that I will invest in or not. But as of right now, I am leaning toward being a bit out on him. Just where I'm at. All right, the next one, guy that I'm going to take. We'll have to talk about it in a little bit. If you listen to the show, you won't be overly surprised. Rasheen Ali. I'll get to him when we get there. But next off the board, Jalen Wright. Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. Man, he's quick. He's as quick as a hiccup. Makes a lot of guys miss in the open field. Did some good things in the SEC. And also, I forgot to mention, we'll go ahead and stop here. I know that there are, a billion rounds in here. We're only going to go 3 rounds, so we won't go any further than 3 rounds. So I'll have to figure out how to pause this thing. Is that? Oh, that just copies it. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. No clue. All right. Next up, so Jalen Wright, fantastic player. Trey Benson's getting a lot of buzz after what he did at the Combine, the way he measured in, the way that he played, the way he performed in the drills. He put up some really good times. He's got the size. He's another guy that, is a product of a transfer portal and whatnot.
Oh, come on, dude.
But Jalen Wright, really like him quite a bit. Trey Benson, really like him quite a bit. We get to my guy now, Marshawn Lloyd. Marshawn Lloyd, man, watching him at South Carolina, you saw the potential. But it just never seemed to come together, whether it was injuries, whether it was how they were using him, all of that. He transfers to USC, and it's like the sky opened up, and it was just everything he needed it to be, and he really took advantage of it. Now, if you look at the numbers, you're not going to say like, oh my goodness, those are outrageous numbers, because they still used him in a way where he wasn't getting every single down carries, similar to how Georgia uses their guys, Alabama uses their guys. So it wasn't a surprise how they used him, but he took advantage of the opportunities, great yards per carry, did good things in the receiving game. So I like Marshawn Lloyd quite a bit. But this is and Matthew's talking about it right now. This is the range where I think there's going to be some really good value at the running back position, because all of these guys, if you're drafting before the NFL draft, which I personally love to do because it kind of shows who's done their homework, who knows these prospects, who doesn't. And we can go ahead and stop there as far as the draft goes. I don't know why. I feel like that's just sleep. Can I put it to sleep? Oh, no, that's just dark mode. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But it'll keep going. You guys can keep picking if you want to, but we're only going to go through the first 3 rounds here. All right. Next one off the board here. Matthew says, it feels like the community is really down Xavier Leggett. What are your early impressions? I still kind of like what I'm seeing. Really good yards after the catch guy. I've literally only seen snippets, highlights, things like that. So I don't have a strong take. This year, I had so much going on leading up to me going full time. It took more time than I wanted it to. So I'm a little behind on prospects compared to where I'm normally at. Normally I'm, I've watched all these guys a couple times over. So a little behind, but in future years I'll be able to be significantly ahead. Like I'm excited to get into the 25 class as soon as 24 wraps up. So it'll be fun. But yeah, so I don't have a true good opinion on him just yet until I've watched a lot of tape on him. But yeah, he's a player that thrives after the catch. But we'll kind of have to see how that all plays out. All right, next up, Lewis, not Luis, or maybe Luis, not Lewis. He took Bo Nix. And even though I'm not a big Bo Nix guy, Jerry, what's up? What's good, my man? Even though I'm not a huge Bo Nix guy, this is a really good range to take him, especially pre-draft, because we don't know where he's going to go in the draft. And there's still an outside chance that he goes in the first round. He could be a first-round pick at quarterback. And if that's the case, getting him in the mid to late second round is just an incredible value. Incredible value. I'm not sold on him as a player. If you listen to the podcast, you know that he's not somebody that I think has the game necessary to be a first-round pick and to be successful at the NFL level. But all of that being said, especially pre-draft, I like the value getting him here. Blake Corum, I've mentioned it maybe too much, but he reminds me a lot of Kyren Williams. Like when I watched him play a couple years ago, and this was before Kyren Williams had his blow-up year this year. Those two guys reminded me of each other. They do a lot of the things well. They're very disciplined players, a little bit undersized, but much more physical than you would want to give them credit for. Drop the mic. What's up, homie? How you doing, bud? So Blake Corum reminds me a lot of what you get in Kyren Williams. And so I'm excited to see him play at the next level. Really curious what his draft capital is. Like, is there a world where the Chargers get frisky and draft him, trade up and draft him at the end of the second round? Like, yeah, I think that's possible. I think that's absolutely possible. Is there a world where he slips to the early fifth? Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. So I'm really curious to see how the NFL values him. Is there a team that really, really believes in him? So we'll have to see. Ryan said that's a great comp, especially coming from a Michigan fan. Yeah, I mean, you've got to watch him play. And those two guys, they do things the right way. They're never going to wow you with their athleticism. They're not going to be the biggest, the strongest. But, man, They have great vision, they have great instincts, and they do things the right way. So I really like Corum. I really like Corum quite a bit. I'm curious to see where I'll end up ranking him amongst all these guys, but I really do like him quite a bit. Tez Walker, he's a wide receiver out of North Carolina. He was another guy that, or D Walker, so Dontez Walker, but everybody calls him Tez. He's somebody that that we don't know a ton about. He was at Kent State. He transferred to North Carolina, played well, but we didn't get to see him until halfway through the season when they finally, the NCAA allowed him to play. So then at that point, so much chemistry has been established. And don't get me wrong, he had some good games despite that, but would have been really curious to see how he would have played had he been given the entire season to be in this offense, to be able to work with Drake May, and how Drake May would have looked if he would have had him all season too. So really interesting one there. All right, here's another guy that everybody's talking about. My guy Ricky over here, Florida wide receiver. He is another one that is getting a lot of buzz right now. Really moving up people's boards. Lots of buzz about him. I'll be honest, I have not watched hardly anything on him yet. So I'm not going to say this is a great pick. I'm not going to say this is a terrible pick because I truly know very, very little about him at this moment. So I'm excited. It's one of those guys that I get to like really go in with fresh eyes and watch, which is kind of fun because I don't get to do that a lot, and he'll be a player I get to. Leggett, we already talked about him. So we don't need to bring him up again. Braylon Allen goes here at 3-1. If you listen to the most recent Dynasty Nerd show, you know exactly how we feel about Allen. While there is plenty of potential, and there's plenty of potential in this guy, I'm not sold on him. I think he's a project. I do. I would have really liked him to stay another year or two. With being so young, he could have easily gotten away with it. But he came out this year. I do think a team is going to take a chance on him on day 2. I think it'll be the end of day 2. So I think we're talking, pick round 3, pick 20 or something like that. But he's a really, really Tristan says, Braylon Allen running back 1? Tristan, you're going to have to explain yourself what you're seeing that I'm not seeing, because to me, this was a guy that lacked the explosiveness to be able to do things well at the next level. He didn't have the long speed. He didn't have the short area quickness. I don't get it. Maybe, but I also don't think he's going to be deployed in the passing game much. So we'll see. Maybe it is a Tennessee Titans situation where they give him the rock a stupid amount of times. It's possible. It's entirely possible. But right now, he just seems like a project to me. All right, we've got Polk here, one of the other wide receivers other than Odunze for Penix. And Polk had a really nice season. I mean, all these guys did. It was a very heavy passing attack. All of these guys made plays in the passing game. He's one of those sleepers that I think I'm going to have quite a few shares of because I think he's a really talented receiver. We've got our first tight end off the board here in Sanders. Another guy that I haven't watched a ton on, but he's the second tight end off the board. We'll have to see. Like I said, I haven't watched enough tight end tape to really be able to give a good analysis on him at this point. So, yeah, we'll have to see. Let's round out, because I don't want to drag this on. We've got Wilson, Corley. Corley's a guy that I think is really interesting. McMillan. So we've got another Husky here, receiver. Rasheen Ali. If you listen to the show, you know that I like this guy quite a bit more than the rest of our podcast hosts do. I think he's a really explosive player, a really fun running back to watch. I'm really excited about Ali. I know everyone else isn't, but he's one of those guys that I think I'll have on a lot of my teams. Baker goes at 3.8. We've got Burton going off the board at 3.9. Bucky Irving here at 3.10. I'm not quite seeing it with Bucky yet, but we'll see. Still going to watch a little more tape. Garendo at 3.11. We talked about him on the podcast. And then Spencer Rattler at 3.12. Henry Burden says, don't sleep on those Wisconsin running backs. And look, I get it. Wisconsin has a history putting out some very, very good running backs. I'm not feeling these two, though. And I know Garendo is now a Louisville running back, but a former Wisconsin Badger. I'm not feeling it with either one. Tristan says, at the combine, he was telling us how he models his game after Henry, and how he's talked to him throughout the process for tips on how to train and prepare, which is awesome. I mean, that's great. It's good that he's training. It's good that he's preparing. But at the end of the day, I could talk to LeBron James. That doesn't mean I'm going to be able to dunk it. I just don't see, look, I don't think he is a bad player. And I feel like it's coming across that I think Braylon Allen is a bad player. I don't think he's a bad player. But to be worthy of the Brooks, the Lloyds, the Bensons, the Wrights, I just don't see it. I don't see it. If you want to rank him as running back 5 to 10, cool. I'm good anywhere in there. But to be a top 4 back in this class, Eric said, I feel like if Allen went back, we'd be complaining he has too much mileage in 25. maybe, but he's still so young. So, but I can see your argument. River Area Select League says Allen looks like Henry, runs like Lewis. Take it from a Badger fan. And by Lewis, who do you mean? Are we talking Jamal Lewis? Are we talking Dion Lewis? Are we talking, who are we talking here? Tristan says, if Allen can be the running back from his freshman year, then he'll do big things. He looked less explosive, so I'm very confused on his speed, athleticism scores. Yeah, he was a little bit underwhelming. He was a little bit underwhelming. Dion Lewis. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Not a compliment. Yeah, I agree. He needs to run bigger. He needs to run more physical. There are times you see flashes of some physical running, but it's not something that he does with great consistency. Tristan said, I think he's different than most of the other backs in the class, and I think there really aren't any standout backs. I would agree with both of those points. I do think he's different. Other than like Audric, and I'm still going to pronounce it incorrectly. Estime? I think it's Estime. I feel like they run fairly similar. But obviously different level overall than Estime is. But look, I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm not saying he's a bad player. But I want somebody that I feel like if I'm taking the first back in the class, I don't want somebody that's a project, which I think Allen is a project. I want somebody that I think can be a 3 down back. And while I think Allen can be an early down back, I'm not sure that he can do some of the other things that these other guys can do in the passing game. So, and I want somebody that can break off some big plays. I think Allen is going to be a guy that, even if he's a feature back, he'll be a guy that gets you 17 carries for 60 yards, 1 catch for 8 yards, and then you're crossing your fingers he gets a touchdown. And that's if he gets a featured role, which those are very few and far between in the NFL right now. If he gets it, obviously he moves up my board. If he goes to a situation where it seems like he's really going to be the guy, then yes, he absolutely moves up my board, because touches are so important and so valuable. So valuable. But Henry saying Allen with the highest score in the ZAP model to shout out to the Late Round podcast. Yeah, no, they're great guys over there. So nothing against them. I'm a film guy. And from what I've seen on film, and this is, I want to make sure that I say this clearly too, because when I say that I'm a film guy, it's not just that I watch the tape and I regurgitate what I see. Like, I love tape. I'm somebody that, even in college, when I was playing football at Malone, like, I enjoyed being in the lab, watching tape of our upcoming teams, who we're going to be going against, what their schemes were, how we counter those schemes. Like, I am a tape guy. So it's not just, I sit here and I watch tape and, oh, this guy's good and this guy's not good. Like, no, like, I really like to dig in. A 5-minute game to me is not a 5-minute game. A 5-minute game takes me 20 minutes because I'm rewinding and rewatching, and I want to see the nuances and things. And like, in all of this, I don't get it. I really don't get the hype. Now, I will go back and watch some of his earlier tape, and maybe from what we see out of his freshman and sophomore year, maybe I'll see something a little different. Maybe that'll encourage me a little bit more on Allen. But overall, I think we're seeing somebody that's a really big physical guy that you want to see him coming off the bus. Like, he's the type of guy that you want to see walking off the bus, and you're like, oh man, we're going against those guys. Like, that dude's yoked. Like, he's that guy for sure. But if I'm getting somebody for my fantasy team, like right now, I would easily be putting Jonathan Brooks ahead of him. I would easily be putting Wright, Benson. Oh, look at Jared over here. Shows up for 1 minute, and he's a jerk. See how it is? I would easily be putting Wright ahead of him, easily putting Benson ahead of him, easily putting Lloyd ahead of him, easily putting Corum ahead of him. I think those 5 guys are for sure going to go ahead of him for me. So could he be my running back 6 when it's all said and done? He could. But I don't see a scenario where he's higher than that. So I think he's going to be somewhere between 6 to 8 for me when it's all said and done, which is not a bad range. And like I said, if he gets that 3rd round draft capital, then yeah, that's going to bump him up on my post-draft rankings. But just on tape alone, not on injuries, not on how well they interviewed, not on all of these things. On just tape alone, 6 at best for me right now. But we'll see. Ryan said, I would love a podcast breaking down what you look for on tape, trying to even out from being a spreadsheet guy to mixing in some tape. Yeah, absolutely. And there have been, you're not the first one to ask about that. We've actually gotten quite a few questions lately about some of those things. And we used to do a show back in the day called Film Nerds. And it was myself, Jared Wackerly, and Nick Whalen sitting down talking about prospects. And that's something that we might be bringing back to some extent. I don't want to make any promises, but that is the type of thing that we want to do more of. In fact, Jared and I were looking the other day on, maybe this is something that would be specifically for Nerd Herd members. This is something that would be specifically for our Nerd Herd. And we would, I don't know, it would probably be in the Discord. And we would do a show where, so if this is something you'd be interested in, let me know. But we would sit down and we would put on a game. We would put on a game. Let's say it's Blake Corum. Put on Blake Corum versus, no, we won't do it versus Ohio State because it'll make me cry. We'll put Blake Corum versus Michigan State on. And, and then maybe after that, if we have time, we'll put Blake Corum versus Wisconsin. And we'll just talk about it as we're watching it. Maybe there's certain things in the scheme that we see. Maybe we'll question, like, why did he make this cut here versus that cut there? Oh man, look at that play. Like, those would be the types. So we would just kind of sit down and watch with you guys as it's going on. So if that's something that you would be interested in, let us know. We're not married to it yet, but we have gotten quite a few people that have been requesting that we do something like that again in the future. So, Momo Doan says, you have the odd Blunt or Jacobs in that style, but more often you have the A.J. Dillons of the world that are left wanting. That's true. Jared says potentially a Talking Dynasty episode. Yeah, we could do that in a Talking Dynasty episode as well, where we break down what we look for, why we look for these things, how significant that could be. Eric P. said, trade just hit my inbox. Sell Pacheco for $203. That would be a win now versus a rebuild move for me. If I'm win now, I'm absolutely holding on to Pacheco. I think he's going to have another very solid season. He's going to be, running back 18 on the year or something like that, where he's going to be a valuable piece for your team. However, if you're in rebuild, I would much rather take a chance on Jonathan Brooks at 2-3, which is where he literally just went in our draft. I would much rather take a chance on Jalen Wright, Trey Benson. Maybe you get Ladd McConkey there. Maybe you get, one of these receivers that we like quite a bit. So I think that one all depends on where you're at in your league. And you guys feel free to put more trade questions or draft questions or whatever. But this is one that I think is really dependent on where you're at in your league. Ryan says, my thoughts exactly. # NerdHerd for life. Would love to put it on as well and see what you guys are looking at. So yeah, would love to show you guys what we're looking at. We can point things out, why we like certain guys, why we don't like certain guys, where our concerns are, all that kind of stuff. All right. Had a trade question pop up. Eric P said he's rebuilding. Yeah, so I would probably trade 203 if I'm in a rebuild state. Pacheco's somebody that is going to be the running back for now, but probably not by the time you're contending again. We had a trade question pop up and then disappear at the same time. Oh, what did I do? I messed up something. Oh no. What did I do? I messed up the chat. I did not mean to do that. Well, now it wants me to sign in. Let's see how this goes. Prize33 at gmail.com. All right. We'll see. Sorry about this, guys. This is the growing pains, though. These are the growing pains. Oh, now I've got to verify it. You know how that two-step verification works. Got to make sure that I get in here and verify what we're doing. And yes, it is me. All right, let's see. Is my chat back? Oh, no. I'm just watching myself now. Don't like that. All right, let's see if I can pull this back up. I apologize. Still learning as we go. Docs. Let's see. Let's get the chat back up. Yep, it's gone. All right. I apologize, guys. We will get this figured out, and we will get it fixed. Not quite sure what happened to the chat, and we were going to spend the last little bit here answering your... Oh, I got it back. We're good. Whew. All right. Kirk says, I'm in a position to win this year, but I've got an offer of 1-1 and 1-6 for McCaffrey. I already have Jacobs, Kyron Williams, and Swift, but giving up CMC probably takes me out of it this year. I would want to know a couple things. One, is this a one quarterback or is this a super flex league? Either way, this is going to be a tough trade. And I understand why you're wrestling with it, because we're either talking about, in a 1 QB, we're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. and another good wide receiver. In Superflex, we're probably talking about getting Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze. The value, either way, I think, is on the pick side. One quarterback. Okay, so it's a little closer in one quarterback. The value either way is on the pick side. Would I, in a startup today, draft Marvin Harrison Jr. over Christian McCaffrey? And the answer is yes, I would. I would draft him over Christian McCaffrey. Then you get another pick on top of it. That being said, you only have so many win now windows. They don't come around every single day. So at the end of the day, I would have a good, hard look at my team. And I would say, can I realistically win this year? And then take it a step further. Do I think I'm likely to win this year? Because at the end of the day, it's about the ships. And as tough as it is to give up a Marvin Harrison or give up on a Marvin Harrison, you've got to do what you got to do to win ships. And giving up Christian McCaffrey doesn't help you win a ship. But if there's any doubt in your mind, then I'm taking the picks. Peter said, I shipped Addison JSN for Chase in a 12-team, one quarterback league. I thought it was fine at the time, but with the recent developments with Lockett and Minnesota's quarterback situation, would you say I clearly won? And yes, I would make that trade for Chase. I would have made it then, and I would definitely make it now. Addison is somebody that I think is one of the quiet losers of free agency, because Justin Jefferson, although there's concerns, losing Kirk Cousins and whoever he's going to get, there's concerns there that maybe doesn't quite put up quite the same numbers. My bigger concern is the other pieces, because we know Justin Jefferson's going to be fed. We don't know that with Addison now. So I think that's the bigger thing there is the Addison side of that. All right. James Swanson said, just won the ship, but what do I do with old receivers like Adams, Diggs, and Kupp? I also have a youth movement with Olave, Puka, and Garrett Williams. Honestly, just keep winning chips, man. Just keep winning chips. Like, if you have the pieces in place that are a little bit older, they're going to be retiring, whatever, but you already have that next wave behind them, just keep winning chips. I don't think you'd have to do anything. If somebody wants to give you something for Adams or Kupp or whatever, cool. As long as it's a fair trade, totally open to moving one of those guys. But ultimately, you have the pieces in place to win a ship again. Just keep winning ships, my man. SoCal says, I have the 102 in Superflex, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is going 1-1. Can you talk me out of taking Daniels over Caleb? Look, to me, they're slightly different tiers. I have Caleb Williams over Jane Daniels, but there's a lot of people that I know and respect. Rich Dotson, he's wrestling with that same issue. And there's people that would clearly take Daniels over him. Look, I think both have good rushing upside. I think Jaden Daniels is a little bit better. But to me, there's a reason that Caleb Williams has been talked about for as long as he has. And Jaden Daniels is a fifth-year player that has just now figured it out. I think the safety is with Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels has crazy upside. And could he end up being better? Absolutely. But is there a world where I see Jaden Daniels failing? Yeah. Is there a world where I see Caleb Williams failing? I guess, but man, 99 out of those 100 worlds he's not. So for me, I think it's Caleb Williams. All right, last one here, and then we are going to wrap the show up. Let's see. Josh says, Bijan or the 101 in a 1 QB league. I have Spears, Javonte, and Achane. Start two QB or two running backs, and I'm a contender. Oh, so you're making me choose between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Bijan. In a draft, I'm taking Caleb Williams, or I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. But draft you draft for best player available, and you trade for need. And I think right now, as much as I love all of those running backs that you have, the only guy that you can really count on right now is Achane. So I think it's Bijan. It's close. It's really close. He says, thanks for the new show. Such a great break in the day. Really appreciate it. Guys, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you for joining me for the first ever live stream. This has been the most beautiful hot mess ever. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time talking with you guys, drafting with you guys. Like I said, in the future, we're going to be having some guests on. We'll see Rich on here. We'll see Matt. We'll see Jared. We'll see Dennis. We'll see Peter. We'll see. And I'm going to have an opportunity for more writers and different guys like that to hop in. So really, really enjoyed my time talking with you guys, hanging out with you guys. And I promise there are more things to come. But now every Thursday at noon, you're not going out for lunch. You're eating lunch with me. All right. Lunch break, noon Eastern time, each and every week here on the Dynasty Nerds YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys. Have a great